The ongoing Leveson Inquiry into the practices and ethics of the press is questioning former News International chairman James Murdoch. Tomorrow it'll be the turn of his father. He's been asked about his relationship with politicians and about how much he knew about phone hacking and other illegal news gathering techniques employed by the News of the World, which has since been closed down. Joining us now from London is our correspondent Lisa Miller. Lisa, tell us, James Murdoch has twice before appeared in public to answer questions of this nature. Has his performance today been any different, given that this time he's appearing before a judge and under oath?
No, in fact, he's clearly made a very deliberate decision that he is going to back up everything that he said before that parliamentary committee. It was before that committee that he announced he had not seen an email that's now been described as the For Neville email, which would have revealed to him that phone hacking was widespread and a much bigger problem than what he claimed he knew about. He had been reassured many times, he said, that phone hacking had been put in a box, that it was no longer a problem. That was the message that he delivered over and over in the first 2 hours. What he did do, Emma, was point the finger directly at the former editor of the News of the World, Colin Myler, and the former lawyer, Tom Crone, continuing to say that he had people in place who reassured him that there wasn't a problem. So around and around they went for the first couple of hours. It was up to lead counsel Robert Jay, who was quite forensic in the way he approached it, to suggest that perhaps it all came down to this question. Let's listen.
Either you were told about the evidence which linked others at News of the World to Mulcair, and that this was in effect a cover-up, or you weren't told, or you didn't read your emails properly, and there is a failure of governance within the company. Do you accept that those are the only two possibilities?
I don't think that. It was very, I think I've been very, very clear on this point of what I was told at the time, the eagerness that these people had to settle this case, as you've mentioned. And I was told sufficient information to authorize them to go and negotiate at a higher level, and I was not told sufficient information to go and turn over a whole bunch of stones that I was told had already been turned over.
That was James Murdoch there answering questions put to him by lead counsel Robert Jay in London at the Leveson Inquiry. Correspondent Lisa Miller, tell us, this is the third session of the Leveson Inquiry, which was specifically looking into the relationship between politicians and the press. Have we learned anything today about the relationships between the Murdochs and British leaders?
Well, we've certainly learned a little bit more about what went on with David Cameron. There have been questions over contacts that he had with James Murdoch before he became Prime Minister and after. And why it's so important is that the Murdochs were planning a takeover bid for B Sky B, and so they were looking for a prime ministerial nod or help, perhaps. That's the suggestion, but certainly evidence of dozens of meetings, and that's new today.
And also now we're looking forward to tomorrow's evidence from James Murdoch's father, Rupert Murdoch, the head of the company. What are Robert Jay and others there at Leveson likely to be trying to tease out of Rupert Murdoch?
Well, I suspect it'll be entirely up to Rupert Murdoch what we get out of the hearing. The suggestion is that he's got nothing to lose, while James Murdoch perhaps is still hoping to be considered heir apparent again one day. Rupert Murdoch, who's been tweeting today already, criticising the British government about various things, may let loose. That's the suggestion. He'll certainly be questioned about his relationships with various prime ministers over the years.
Because, of course, Lisa, over the years in Britain in particular, the press has made quite an issue, hasn't it, of just how influential it is, particularly over the outcome of elections.
But this is what was raising incredulous questions in the inquiry today, because James Murdoch was saying that may well be the perception that newspapers have some control or power, or that politicians feel that they have to kowtow towards them, but that he didn't feel that that was the truth. Well, certainly a few eyebrows shot up over that, and one of the meetings that had been discussed with David Cameron was when James Murdoch let him know that The Sun, the highest selling newspaper, was going to change its allegiance from the Labor Party to the Conservatives, and he was asked, well, how did David Cameron respond to that? And James Murdoch said, well, he seemed to be happy enough. You can imagine that he was probably very happy about that.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Lisa Miller in London.